Welcome, everybody, to the One to Go show. It is Puka. Once again, joined by Ryan Hale and Bert Lehman. We are again presented by Weir's Machine. So you guys, we've talked about them before. WEHRS, Weir'sMachine.com. Tranny parts, suspension parts, carb parts, pinion mounts. Check them out on Facebook. Jump on the website, Weir'sMachine.com. And when you talk to Chad down there, tell him you heard about them on the One to Go show. All right, a ton of racing over the weekend. Obviously, happy Labor Day, everybody. We were recording this on Labor Day. And like I said, a ton of stuff, east, west, north, south. So we are going to start out with Ashland because they got going on Thursday night over there at the ABC Raceway. Ryan Hale was there in attendance. Oh, go ahead, Bert.
I just want to say something. You guys were at all these races you're going to be talking about, so I'm just going to kind of sit back and enjoy my popcorn.
We invited you. Man. We even sent you a text. We'll say we'll cover your gas, we'll cover your tickets, and then he's got this excuse that it's too far. It was kind of a hike. In fact, that's why I'm in the dark right now. I guess I'm always in the dark, but the fact is I'm on my way back to Illinois from northern Minnesota, and there was no way I was going to make it all the way back home, I guess, before the show. And I'm looking at the screen here, but I feel like I should be looking down here. I'm not used to doing this on my phone. But
you look fine.
Right. Hey, thanks, buddy. Thanks, man. The darker it is, the better I look, right? So, yeah, I'm heading home right now, but, yeah, it was a hell of a good time. So, actually, Puka, you didn't make it to Ashland. I was the only one of the three. I had to flip us upside down there because that actually that might be a little bit easier for me to talk. Yeah. So the fact is, I went to the ABC Raceway, and the racing was phenomenal. I'm here to tell you, the features, all three of them, were very, very good features. Hats off to the crew down at the ABC Raceway. I'm looking forward, except for the cold part, I'm looking forward to the Red Clay Classic. But Shane Sabraski, right out of the gate, we've been talking about this guy all year long, and he put a beat down on the boys in the Super Stocks. He got her done, started off the weekend with a bang, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, he's got 7 more features left. How's this going to work for him? And I tell you, he was bolted in that Super, a little drama in the Super Stock. So again, I've been saying this for a long time. Super Stocks, high contact sport, and you had 2 alpha males in Kevin Burdick and Kurt Myers, both of them with national championships, rolling into last corner for the 2nd spot. And I tell you what, I played the video here. You guys can decide.
Sabraski now has extended his lead over Myers, but now the 30 of Burdick has caught up to Myers. They're going to go side by side for second with 1 to go. Burdick down low. Myers up high. Sabraski continues to lead. Myers is going to win the race into turns 3 and 4. He's going to try and cut off Burdick. Burdick's not going to let him. And those two are going to go into the tires in turn 4. And now Myers not happy as he rams into the back of Burdick after this is all done.
They called it on Burdick, right? Needless to say, as you can see on the video that we just showed, Burdick actually got inside of Myers. Contact was made. Myers went around. Burdick over the top of a tire on the last corner. And needless to say, neither one of them were happy. They were both mad. And I watched this over and over and over again. And at high speed, it could have went either way. At low speed, it's a little bit different story, so you might have to speed it up, slow it down, but I would not want to be an official because that was a tough one to call. It really was.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, in the modifieds, guys, that was phenomenal, too. A buddy of mine, Matt Gilbertson, he got her done. He made I was surprised to see him all the way from western Minnesota. He's a Montevideo car. He drove all the way over to Ashland, and he got her done. Jake Hartung, who owns SSR, was right on him. I mean, he was charging. Great finish in that mod race. But Sabraski, he had a tough heat race. He had a tough heat. He started 18th and drove up to 3rd. If there was a late race yellow in that deal, he was the fastest car on the racetrack again. But a great modified race. Now, the late models, as good as those 2 races were, the late models was unbelievable. Unbelievable. It started out a guy that I've known for a long time, Puka, you and I grew up watching this guy, Steve Larson. The guy's won a ton of races. He really ain't won a ton lately, right? I mean, he's been racing for a long time. He led the lion's share of the Prelude to the Clay, and I'm thinking, man, he's in good position. He's got this deal won. He's running really smooth. Restart comes out. He comes out of turn 4, and I wasn't really paying attention to what happened at the start. I'm thinking, holy cow, all I saw is Ebert like yard sailing over the top of him. I'm like, oh my God, like what happened? Well, he broke an axle. So he snapped an axle. He was done, lost the lead, and then there was several lead changes after that. Budaslavich got it. He hit the fence, and Mars got the lead. I thought it was over. I mean, when Jimmy Mars gets a lead with a handful of laps left, it's usually a done deal. And he was too tight. He couldn't rotate on the bottom. He was driving through the middle, rolling up the racetrack. Here comes Jeffrey Massingill from 12 on the last corner and shocks the world, nips him at the line. I mean, I don't remember. I got a short memory, but somebody mentioned that he's probably going to win one this week, and I don't know who that was. Wait a second.
I don't know who that was. Do you?
that was this guy right here. See, Team Massingill right here. So I knew it was coming. He's been running so good. But guys, I tell you, Ashland was phenomenal. They got the program done in a fairly fast amount of time. And the one thing I got reminded of when I got there, I show up there, right? I'm wearing shorts, I'm wearing sandals, I'm wearing just a polo shirt, right? I'm dressed for like warm weather. I get out, I'm like, holy crap, we're at Ashland. Like everybody else is dressed in like jackets and all that. Immediately I threw the hoodie on and pants on because it was not warm. They had the wind whipping off the lake. But I'm looking forward to the Red Clay. I'm going to head over there in a few weeks to the Red Clay Classic. And did you guys get a chance to see any of that online?
Oh, go ahead, Bert.
I saw the highlights of the late model feature. So, yeah, I mean, you could see, Mars leading and you think it's over, but, Massingill just hung with them. And then on the last lap in 3 and 4, like you said, Jimmy couldn't keep it down on the low part of the track. And, he just crept up the track a little bit, gave enough room to Massingill, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, Jeffrey's car rotated well, didn't it?
Yeah, just like you said, that heartbreak of Steve Larson, I mean, he was bad fast, and what a time for, equipment failure. Just one of those things. I guess you've been through it, Ryan, but yeah, it was good to see Massingill. Like I said, we've said all year, he's raced a lot. It's good competition. He's due. We've talked about him in the power rankings. We've had people contact us about him not being in the power rankings. Why isn't he there? We say just needs to get over the hump and get at least one win. And all of a sudden gets into August, he's probably going to have a couple wins because now people are starting to stack them up. So congrats to Jeff. It was, like I said, yeah, it was great racing there at ABC.
We were over at the Grand Rapids Speedway for the Wissota Classic. What are some things that stuck out to you over in Grand Rapids?
Well, first off was the weather. Like I said, I think it was colder in Ashland, but it was the first cold night since the spring here in northern Minnesota. So I think when I left the track there, when I did that post-race video, I think it was 50. You could see your breath. So definitely the temps. The story of the night there, I think, was the track in a lot of ways, right? No hot laps. Looked as smooth as glass, after they packed it. We did the anthem. They started rolling. Track was, what would you call it? Heavy, choppy? I mean, definitely choppy. I mean,
beyond heavy. Yeah. Beyond heavy. It was really heavy. Hammered down.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of that had to do, and I said it on that video, it just, it was windy and it was sunny all day. But then right about race time at 6 o'clock, the flags were kind of whipping. Then by 6:10, they were barely whipping. And then by 6:20, the flags were loose. So the wind just went away. And, of course, then the sun went away and the higher temps went away. And it just got cold. Like I said, you could see your breath. So you're getting close to dew point. So the track never really dried out. A couple of late models almost went over, including Jeff Provenzino, who was the closest to go over. But, big win in the late models for a local guy. Jay Kittner, a guy that, if you're listening here from North or South Dakota or Wisconsin, you might not have ever heard of him. He's turned a lot of laps here in Minnesota, a lot of laps up here in northern Minnesota. So the guy like Ryan and I don't think we were too surprised because he's not only has he run a long time, he's had a really good year, but a big win as far as specials for him, coming in a late model because he's had him in supers and mods.
I got to be honest, I was really surprised. I was vastly surprised because I've never known Jake Hittner is a high side hustler on a cushion ever, right? He's been a roll the middle, roll the bottom, smooth Labor Day style driver where it's clean, drive slick guy, and he just pounded that cushion, and I was like, where in the heck did this guy come from? Like, he's always ran the bottom from what I can remember. He's hustling on the high side. And one of the guys, another heartbreak story, Kyle Peterlin, he came charging up there, and I'm like, he's going to win this race.
Yeah.
He's bolted. He's coming. And I don't know exactly what happened. There might have been some contact, but he got up over the cushion, rolled the front end underneath, and up off the track he went. His night was done. But, man, Jeff Provenzino, after that heat race, he should probably call Weir's Machine, order a new J-bar, because the J-bar that he had went like this, right?
Yeah.
Whatever he had in the car folded the tent, and he ripped the drive shaft out of the car. He just about went over. Like,
Yeah,
he was up there. Holy cow. That was crazy. Of course, Kurt Meyer's making the trip over. He put a spanking on him in the super stocks. Burdick got second, right? Now, here's what's cool. Hot Carl got third.
Yeah, Hot
Shane Zabrowski got fourth, right? Hot Carl in the mix. He looked good. And here's the deal. I actually interviewed Hot Carl. And for the record, everybody's talking, Kyle Larson, right? Kyle Larson ain't beat Shane Zabrowski. Ain't done it. He hasn't beat him all year. Hot Carl beat Shane Zabrowski. So in my eyes, Hot Carl's a step above Kyle Larson.
I agree.
So that went to prove it right there. Plus, Hot Carl won a hooligan race in Hibbing. So, I mean, come on, he's on his game. But Dan Ebert, of course, he was really good in the modified. But it was pretty exciting racing over there. A lot of work needed to be, a lot of tin pounding, a lot of fixing stuff. But it was one of those nights like old school where I walked across the track and I got like 3 inches taller, because I remember after the races, outside the races, the dew was all over the cars. The grass was all wet. I mean, the moisture was just coming out. And I talked to some of the drivers, and they said they didn't miss it or nothing, but on the parade laps right before the race, they're like, did they water the track? Because the water just kept coming out of the ground. It was like shiny and greasy, and it was crazy. So the track crew, they didn't put barely any water on it, but that's one of those things. You can't fight Mother Nature, and experience pays off on a deal like that. And, they learned something there. But overall, that was the fastest I've ever seen race cars in my life go around the Grand Rapids.
Yeah, even that late race caution there, I think there were 3 cautions in the last 7 laps there. Peterlin caused one. I can't remember who got around. We've seen so much racing, but when Peterlin folded up, that was for sure one of them. But I remember when they restarted, they went on that backstretch. I said, these guys are going like missiles. We're down. We're down to the last few laps. We're supposed to be blackening up a little bit, and like you said, because they didn't. They stopped them for a little while. The moisture came in, and it was like a missile. And that's when Glenn's made a little bit of progress there at the end. He went from 12th to 2nd, making that progress there after a few of those late race restarts. So, but yeah, it was a pretty good night. Like you said, the conditions, Mother Nature's conditions for her were perfect. It got to the right temp. It got real dewy. It got real moist. And like I said, the wind went away. So they did what they did. The right thing as far as, hey, it's sunny and windy. We got to put a little bit of water on the track, but it just ended up being one of those things. It's a rare. That's probably 1 in 100 night. Second annual Beltline Body Shop Labor Day Shootout. So like I said, we raced Thursday Ashland, Friday Grand Rapids, moved 30 miles down the road over to Hibbing. With a big format change, Ryan. We talked to a lot of people. Instead of racing, having a race marathon for 8, 9, 10 hours. And ending at 1 in the morning, they cut things down, complete show for lates and modifieds each day. Everyone else ran heat races. What were your thoughts?
This is the first time in the history of the Labor Day Shootout, first time there was more people there on day 2 than there was on day 1.
Really?
Oh, unbelievable. That's a testament to 2 things. Number 1, there was some great racing to be had. Photo finish in the late model. We'll talk about that in a second. The program day 1, 4 hours. Maybe just barely over 4 hours. Last year, day 1, 8.5 hours. That's the difference. The program went by fast. The racing was great. The fans felt like they got truly entertained throughout the whole program. They told their friends about it. They're like, man, this is different. You got to get back over here. And I heard lots of good things. So hats off to the folks at the Hibbing Raceway for taking the initiative, recognizing there was a problem, and saying, let's fix this deal. Heard a little grumbling from a few of the B-Mod and Superstock guys, and I get it. I would have been too, because as a driver, I didn't like the heats one day features, the next day I didn't. But they did up the purse for them. They paid better, right? They paid better than they would have paid on a single day show. So there was that. But the fact of the matter is, the crowd is what was really happy, and they realized, hey, we're in the entertainment business, and we got to make sure that the people in the grandstands are happy. And I don't think anybody left unhappy. Maybe the Vessel fans, because he needed about that much further to get it done, right? But they were still pretty happy because it was a great night. So I was excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, what, like you're saying, people used to fall off on that second day. I knew that, so I didn't even know that stat, that things improved. But from the fans' perspective and the racers, here's the thing to remember. Fans, it already showed. Okay, Ryan just said, I didn't even know this coming into the show. The fan count already increased, okay? So if fan counts increase, your purse is going to increase. And didn't they also reduce the draw fee?
They did. Oh, yeah,
so they increased the purse and they reduced the draw fee. So I know you only got one feature, but you can't complain too long. Like I said, if the fan count comes back, your pay is going to grow.
That's exactly it. Now that people saw the format, they saw how fast things could go along. They were happy with how things went. Now, we didn't even have any Canadians there, right? Which sucks because, again, Canadians, we miss you at the Labor Day shootout, right? We need you there. Plus, they drink a lot of beer, right? So the fact is, once this whole deal's out, how great the program was, man, I'm excited to see how many people are in the grandstands next year at the Labor Day shootout in Hibbing.
Right. All right. You want to tackle day one? Where do you want to start?
Well, what did you think? You're a fan, right? I've been on all angles. Let's start with this before we get into any recap, right? We went old school. First of all, we did the out-of-car introductions for the mods and the lights, okay? We'll start there. What was your thoughts as a fan of having them out-of-car introductions as part of the entertainment value of the show?
Yeah, to me, I mean, I don't mind it. If they do it or don't do it, to me, it's a push. But I know the guy that I was with, really. As a matter of fact, he said it a few days ago. As a matter of fact, he might have even said it at Rapids. He might have said, I really like when they used to do that in the 90s, the out-of-car introductions. And then even when Freddie used to do them, and some of the terms that, he used to bring up, the coming out of the such and such racing stable and the pony under the hood and things like that. So, but yeah, and race fans, what Ryan said earlier, he said the program finished like just in 4 hours. They did 2 classes of out-of-car introductions included in that 4 hours. So the program wasn't even 4 hours the program was, but the racing wasn't even. Like I said, he went from 8.5 hours in 2019 to, racing maybe 3:15, 3.5, somewhere in there. I don't know exactly how long those take, but Ryan did a great job on them. And, but yeah, I mean, like I said, to me, it's a push, but I think people like it. And I think that as a driver, do you guys kind of like that?
I did. It's kind of, especially on the big stage, you don't want to do it every single week or every night or every show, but, being able to do that once in a while and have that fan-driver interaction to where the fans can be like, oh, that's who that person is, right? I think that's important.
And then how about, do you want to talk a little bit about the revenge draw? That was another thing you guys did that took up into maybe another 15 minutes. Like, it wasn't included in the actual race time. Like I said, this program still got done in 4 hours.
And that didn't really take any more time because they did it while they were farming the track, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they were out farming the track, and it basically kept people occupied during that. So, again, I'm going to start with you. You're a fan. And then I'm going to get into my thoughts on this deal. But I want you to, what was your thoughts of it as far as entertainment value? What did you think?
No, I did like that. Bert, do you know what we're talking about with the revenge draw?
No, when I first saw that, and because I saw Jesse Glenn's had liked the photo of something on Facebook about the revenge draw, so I wasn't quite sure about that. But I think I know what it is. But yeah, just briefly explain what it is.
So yeah, and I had
you want me to explain it, or you got it?
Go ahead. Yeah, because it's one of the couple things that were very unique this weekend. In addition to that bonus, we'll talk about later.
Yeah, and one of the board members actually brought this idea to him and said, "Hey, let's do this." So what they did is they had passing points from the heat. The top 8 in passing points went into the redraw. They all came out on the big stage. There was 8 Frisbees numbered 1 through 8. Okay, pretty simple so far. Now, in a typical redraw, everybody would just go grab their number. Bam, that's where they start. It's all good. Let's go racing. But on the revenge redraw, how they did it is the first guy went up and they would grab a Frisbee, and whatever it was, it didn't matter if it was 1 or 8 or anything in between, they had to give that to somebody else. Okay? Now, we'll go from there. That's exactly how it worked, Puka. I'm going to let you roll into your thoughts on that, kind of what you liked, what you know, how that went. I'm going to roll into my thoughts on that because I can look at this from a couple different angles.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought it was good. Like you said, I think, like I said, if it was a normal redraw, I would have been, you know, off the grandstands, out to my car, getting a sweatshirt, doing whatever, you know, BSing with people. But I was like, I got to check this out. I got to kind of see what this is all about. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good. You know, the driver's got to think, you know, if a guy's really fast and I pick number 1, am I going to, even if he's my good buddy and I pick number 1, do I give it to him or give it to a guy who I think the odds aren't as great to? So, you know, there was a little bit of, and you could see a couple of guys. Look at Pat Doar. He kind of sat there for a while. I couldn't understand what he was saying, but you know, he's kind of goofy. He's got, I don't know, you know. So, you know, and then some guys struggled with it. You know, who do I, you know, I like, you know, Jeff Massingill. I can't remember who he had 2 to give to. And he's like, I like both these guys. You know, he must have had a higher number. I can't remember, but he was like, I like both of these guys. So it adds just kind of a little extra element there.
So here we're going to go on to Ryan's rant, okay? So I'm going to start off on the fan side of things because the fan side of things, it was awesome. I mean, absolutely a must. I heard every fan in the grandstands was like, this was incredible. It was great. It was fun. You know, Cade Nelson, Daryl Nelson's son, he went up there and I got a picture. I posted it on the page. He grabbed the 8, right? And like literally his eyes got that big. He pointed at Jesse Glenn's. He couldn't run over there fast enough. He's like, you get 8. And he's like all proud of himself. He's like, yeah, Jesse Glenn's is starting 8. He's all pumped. Jesse Glenn's, not so much. He wasn't really happy about that whole deal, right? But there was an element. It was funny. Dave Kane, I don't remember. I think he drew 7. Him and Daryl Nelson do not like each other. It just is what it is. He saw 7. He saw Daryl. He walked up. He didn't even look at Daryl. He walked up. He's like, here. And he didn't even look at him. He's like, here, you take 7. That was an animosity. Like, you're starting in the 4th row, dude. That's what that was about. Okay. Now, so for the fans' perspective, though, you know, it was kind of cool. I don't remember who it was, but we came down to it was a modifieds, and the last 2 numbers left was 2, and I believe it was 8. I think it was 2 and 7, 2 and 8. It was 2 and 8 is what it was because Daryl got 7, and I don't remember. I think that was Johnny Broking drew it, right? And his dad.
No, his dad drew it. I think his dad drew it, right? And then ended up.
No, his dad drew 3, and automatically, bam, he gave it right to Johnny. He's like 2nd row inside, perfect. And I believe it. Well, no, it wouldn't have been Johnny because he wouldn't have had to think about it. It was Ryan Jensen, I think, drew I think it was him that had the 2 and the 8, and he's kind of looking at it. It was Bob Broking left, and it was Shane Sobraski, right? And he's kind of looking, going, so I got the crowd involved with it and all that, and kind of got them all ramped up. And needless to say, he gave the bigger one to Shane Sobraski, is what he did. So I think that's exactly how it worked there. So it was kind of a fun deal to get the fans involved. I mean, that was really cool. Now, my rant is this, okay? It's unfair. It really is unfair because if you're Shane, let's say you're Shane Sobraski, right? Which is, I would say, arguably probably been the hottest driver in modified and super stock racing this year, right? Is that fair enough?
Yeah.
Well, if it's a 1 through 8 redraw, he's got a 2 out of 8 chance to start on the front row. If it's this deal, he has a 100% chance he's starting in the 4th row. Because there ain't nobody in their right mind that's not going to put Shane last. Same thing with Jesse Glenn's. Right. They know how fast he's been all year long. It wasn't even a question. If somebody drew 7 or 8, it was going to the 7X, period. I'm torn on this deal. I really am. Now, what's more important here? Is it more important? Because there's about 2 or 3 drivers at the end of it that are going to be pissed off. They're going to be like, this is stupid, right? There's going to be 2 or 3 drivers. Like Pat Doar started out, he was like, this is dumb. Like, why are we doing this garbage? He liked it when it was all said and done, and Kyle Peterman gave him 2.
Yeah.
He was really happy then, okay? But the fans loved it. So that's where a promoter really has to weigh things out and go, who are we trying to please, right? Because if you piss off a couple drivers by doing this, then they're going to be like, that's just dumb. No, that could go any which way, right? Now, the fans, though, in my mind, I'm thinking, they love this deal. In fact, I had my phone blowing up all day. We're doing this again, right? We're doing this on day 2. Are we doing it for all the classes? This is great. They loved it. And I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where it's frustrating because I kind of felt bad, actually, for Jesse Glenz. I did. Because he had a legitimate shot to maybe he was in the hunt there to beat Massingill. Now, with that said, whoever drew the 7 gave it to Massingill. So it worked out because Massingill and Glenn started in the 4th row. But Sobraski, who we're trying to get him to 50. See, you guys are winning on this deal because you guys picked the under. I picked the over. And then now he starts 8th. I'm like, man, that's a tough task in Hibbing to start 8th and win with that field of cars. So I don't know. I'd like the fans to weigh in. Take a look at it. If you were there, drivers, fans, put that in the comments. We'd like to hear from you, right? What you think about that deal. We want to hear everybody else's thoughts because on the promoter side of things, I think Hibbing's 100% all set that they're doing it again next year, okay? And I've had a few drivers grumbling about it. I'm torn. I don't know where I'm at on the whole deal. I really don't. But if I didn't have anything to do with promoting, I would have been like, hell yeah, this is awesome. It was cool. But there's that little bit of side of me because I've been on all sides of racing, right? There's been years where, I was the guy like, I'm hoping I make the redraw, right? If I make the redraw, I'm going to be pumped. If I can roll off a top 10, well, they might have gave me 1 or 2 then, right? And I start in the front. But I've also had years where, like, I was bolted, 35 feature wins in a year, and I knew for dang sure if we had that deal going on then, I would have been starting in the back row, right? So,
well, the thing with Hibbing is, the advantage Hibbing has, if they do it Labor Day next year, you only have to do it 1 day. You know what I mean? I mean, they have the 2-day show, so they can just say, hey, we'll do it one of the days.
Yeah, maybe, right? Because they might do it both. I mean, it was that popular. So, but again, I'd like to hear from the people that are watching the show. Put in the comments, right? Put in your comments your thoughts of that revenge redraw. I'd like to know what you hear. So with that said, let's get to the racing action because it was good. It was good. So there was a modified feature and a late model feature on day 1. What was your thoughts of that modified feature?
Well, Al Uden, I mean, a guy who's, he hasn't raced consistently at Hibbing, but he has raced consistently at the Labor Day shootout. And, they kind of chuckled. Somebody gave him that front row too. And when during the revenge draw and
that was Shane. Speaking of, that was Shane that gave it to him.
Oh, was it Shane? Okay. I just thought, Union will hang in there top 3. I wasn't expecting him to win, but he kind of checked out, he just kind of ran that middle-ish, and he looked really good. I guess his a buddy of mine came up to the booth and said he was sitting by Al's daughter, and she just the whole race like that, and I guess she was sitting like next to Mackenzie Nelson, and the whole race just like that. She did not want to watch. She did not want a late race caution. She did not want someone to spit out in front of her dad. So I think that ended up being a real popular win. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, likewise. What I liked was his enthusiasm, right? Number one, he ran a great race. Again, congratulations, Al Uten and the whole crew, the whole family. They're passionate about racing. Long time coming at the Hibbing Raceway. But when he got out of the car, I mean, he's older than me. He's in his 50s, right? And he jumped up on the roof, and he's fist pumping, and he looks at me and he goes, I'm too old. If I fall down, it's going to hurt. I better get down, right? And but it was cool seeing him win. And it just a great moment right there, I guess, for racing in our area to see one of the guys who've been doing it for a long time get her done. Now, the late model race, that was close. 0.06, I believe, at the line. And Pat Doar got out to a big lead. And he got into lap traffic. Here comes Derek Vessel in the 16 car. And what was your thoughts of that one?
Yeah, well, that's another guy we've talked about for the power rankings. So check this out as we're talking here, folks. But, yeah, he just, we said it from the beginning. We said, well, if Vess can hang around there, and Hibbing's typically a black track, And what was it, about 7 laps to go? You saw him gaining a little bit. Then 5 laps to go. It was noticeable every lap. I mean, he's coming in, and you can see the gap. It's just, and then he gets like 2 to go. He looked underneath him and hit the and backed off. And then with 1 to go, they're, you know, coming out of 3 and 4. You know, they came across, and I know people on the south side of the grandstand said that it was so close that they thought Vessel won. But, you know, where we're at, we're kind of right about the flags that we could see the Doar just inched him. But, yeah, that late model feature for Labor, is that the closest Labor Day finish ever possibly? It was a fantastic, for a Labor Day shootout to go down to this. I've been going for the better part of 31 years. I've never seen a finish that close in the late models.
Yeah, so 2 of the first 3 features on the weekend, photo finishes at the line. I don't know if it gets any closer than that. In fact, Derek Vessel thought he won. He wasn't sure. He pulled into victory lane. Pat Doar, this is funny. Pat Doar's like, I think I messed up. Like, he come around the checkered flag. He said he come around the checkered flag wave. Then he comes around again, and the checkered flag is still waving. He's like, oh, crap. He's like, did I lift? He goes, did I give that to Derek? Like, was that the white flag waving? He had no idea. Like, he was literally, like, beside himself. He went to the scales, and they're like, Pat Doar to victory lane. He's like, oh, my God, thank God. Like, he literally wasn't sure because he was in a bunch of lap traffic, and there's that big group in front of him. And when he came around, he saw a wave, and he was like, he had that, his heart skipped the beat just a little bit. And he's like, I think I might have just given one away, but he didn't. So, and Pat Doar's a guy that has been struggling. He was in the power rankings, and all of a sudden we booted him out of the power. He was like, he ain't worthy of the top 10 no more. Junk, garbage, he's done. And he rolled off. He got a 3rd in Grand Rapids. And then he was really good day 1 at Hibbing. And I tell you, that's a good start. How about day 2?
Yeah, day 2. Where do you want to start? You want to start with him?
We can start with him and then kind of roll into the rest of it. I mean,
okay.
That was, I mean, he took advantage of the situation. Let's be honest. I mean, Massingill got out to the lead, right? And then Larson got him on a restart. Jeffrey, I don't know what happened on that restart. He slid in on the bottom. I think he missed the rubber. It wasn't quite there yet. And I think he anticipated it being there, and it wasn't. And Larson went by him. Then Doar goes by both of them. And next thing you know, just a handful of laps later, locked down about lap 14, 15, somewhere in there. Pat Doar gets a lead. Steve Larson, who needed a big run, jumped into 2nd, Massingill in the 3rd. And I'm like, oh, boy, here we go. And what were the winds? 30, 40 miles an hour? It was crazy. So nothing against the track. I mean, it was one of those deals where they were thinking of farming it, but you know, if they were farming it before the last race, the fans would have all been pissed off. They were cold. You can't have a 45-minute farming session for one race. I mean, you can't do that, you know. So they put a bunch of water, just trying to get as many laps out of it as you could. They had a good, solid, the 12, 14 first laps were actually pretty dicey. Jay Kittner was bolted on the top. If that rubber doesn't come down, he may win that race. And they got into lap traffic, and you can just tell the experience because they got behind the lap cars. Didn't even try to pass them. They just kind of rolled around. Pat Doar doubles up. First guy in Labor Day shootout history to hit double-digit wins at the Labor Day shootout.
Yeah, that was huge. Yeah. So, yeah, and Larson, another guy, like you said, all of a sudden we were talking, we kicked Doar out. Now, I mean, ever since Bert and I saw Doar down at Cedar Lake, you know, he kind of cooled off. Now he's heating up again. But Steve Larson is heating up. And, yeah, now remember the original start, he got really aggressive and went around into the lead, and there was a caution, you know, so he was battling up there. So all of a sudden, a guy that we haven't even talked about consideration, if he pops off a win here in the mid-invite season, we might have to talk about him for the top 10, but he looks like a very confident driver now, you know, now. Also, fans, you might have seen on one of our previous videos, there was a unique bonus, $500 extra paid if you led lap 10, $500 extra if you led lap 20, 30, and 40. So I was actually keeping tabs, kind of like GRP does in Cedar Lake, you know, who's going to get this. So, you know, Massingill did lead lap 10 to get that $500 extra, but then Doar, you know, passed him shortly after. But so that was the unique, you know, we talked about the revenge draw being unique. That bonus structure was real unique. And then, yeah, like I said, Doar getting to that double-digit number was big. You know, first guy ever. You know, he's won in the supers, he's won in the mods, and he's won a boatload in the lates. But, yeah, he was the class of the field. I mean, he's just – him and Dave Kane kind of remind me of myself. It seems like their car's pretty straight all the time, but they can maneuver. They're maneuverable, yet they just never get too out of whack. I don't know. They remind me of each other a little bit.
Yeah, and they both win a lot of races too, right? So there's that. But how did the event start out? I thought this was kind of neat. Talk a little bit. I'm going to let you talk a little bit about the pure stock feature.
Okay. Yeah. So what happened here was we got a guy up here, Chad Finkbone, just dominant all year, and he wins the heat, and he's expected to start on the pole. So one of Ryan's buddies, I believe it was, right, from Domino's.
Yep.
Yeah. He says, I'll throw $50 in a pot. Let's get a pot going and see if, he'll go to the back. We will do Ryan's Shane Zabrowski deal for the Super Stock Series earlier in the year. So Ryan, of course, the hustler he is, starts hustling around. Get what, $250 for a bonus? It's $250 to win. Now Chad Finkbone can double his money if he takes the challenge. And Ryan brings him up on stage, and you take it from there.
Yeah, I called him out. I'm like, well, what do you think? He's like, I don't know. I mean, it's a Labor Day shootout. We race kind of early. It's a little stickier than what we normally race on. And then I asked the crowd. I said, what do you guys think? And they all cheered like crazy. He's like, you're kind of a dick. He was like, all right, I'll do it, he says. Because now he's kind of like feels obligated. But not only did he win the $250, he won the $250 bonus. There was another $50 bonus thrown into the winner, regardless of who it was. Plus, he got the hard charger award. So he come out of there with over $600, when it was supposed to be $250 to win. So he was happy as heck. But so he actually got up to second. And there's a yellow with like 6 to go, maybe 7 to go, and he had a terrible restart. I don't know what he did. Like he literally had a terrible restart. He pushed, a guy got inside of him. They got together. Next thing you know, he's like 7 car lengths behind them, going, "Oh crap, he's gonna be pissed at me." And the last corner of the last lap, he diamonded it, slid underneath the guy, beat him to the line. The whole crowd went absolutely crazy. And I'm like, Chad, nobody ever cheers for you. I'm like, literally, you win all the time. They're like sick of you winning. Nobody wants to see you win anymore. You win all the time. But the whole crowd cheered because he did it from the back. He did it with style. It was exciting, and it was a great way to start day number 2 at the Labor Day Shootout.
First pure stock feature I've watched from start to finish in a long time. I mean, I've seen parts of them, but from start to finish, if I don't have my back turned talking to somebody, I mean, it was all the bonus. It was all the challenge. And yeah, that was great. So Super Stock feature was one of the, most entertaining. You had, 3 former national champions right up front there, Myers, Zabrowski, Burdick. Of course, Burdick wants to defend his home turf and, takes off and does a pretty good job of it until the, final few laps. We didn't know what was going to happen.
Well, I'm going to speak for the drivers here. Okay. This is for the drivers. Because what SOTA's all about, you got to have point average lineup. It's better for everybody if all the fast guys starting back. We can't have them starting in the front. The fastest 3 super stocks there, Burdick, Zabrowski, Kurt Myers, started 1, 2, 3. It was the best race of the night. Them first 2 races were good, but then that race was phenomenal. And the track was amazing for the super stock feature. There was a good top, a good bottom. Burdick was railing the top of 3 and 4, shutting it down on the bottom of 1 and 2. Zabrowski was going opposite, and they were dice, and Zabrowski got next to him. I'm like, man, this is good. And what was really cool to me is, we'll talk a little bit at the end about Matchdorf's, but that was a pretty special win under the circumstances. We'll get to that at the end of the show for Kevin Burdick there. So congratulations, Dirty 30, on another Labor Day shootout.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, Zabrowski rolled in second, and Myers third. And those 3 just kind of were gone. Actually, it was Zabrowski and Burdick were so fast, and Myers was half a straightaway behind, but then the rest of the pack was a half a straightaway behind them. So Burdick and Zabrowski, they really have their shit together. There's no question about it.
And Darren Murado, I ain't seen that guy in forever. He got 4th in that deal. So 36 is back. He's going to be at the Northern Nationals, so that could be interesting too. Oh
yeah, and the red clay, he's got to have a lot of red clay wins.
I'm thinking so.
Boy. Yeah. So yeah, then the mods, yeah, and what were your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts were the Brokings and Estes they're still dating. They still make a really cute couple. Johnny, I know you listen to this while you're driving.
It's really cute.
I just want to.
We'll keep it going.
It is. Like, I tried calling Johnny earlier to get his take on this. He didn't answer the phone. He probably knew what I was going to ask him, but I just hope I can be in the wedding because I know that him and Kelly are pretty tight. You know, they're pretty tight. They're a cute couple, and they got together in 3 and 4 there on the last lap, or I think 1 to go.
1 to go.
And
Yeah.
they got together, and they come into turn 1 and 2, and next thing you know, I think. My eyes, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but in my eyes, it looked like Johnny's like, I'm just going to dump him.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah, I might have to watch it again. I might be wrong on that, but next he just looked at me like he just drove into the 37, spun around in a circle. They did call it on Johnny, and they did go back a lap for the finish, give Esty the 6th spot, and so that was quite interesting. But Sobraski, he finally – over the whole weekend, he won that first one, and he won the last one. And he got her done in the modifieds. A guy that was really good in the modifieds, though, was Brandon Kopp. He started up there in the second row. He backpedaled, and he come charging back up into the 3rd spot. So a hell of a run there for the rookie from Brewer, Wisconsin.
Yeah, total stud. And that's where the race really was. You had Sobraski checked out from the front row. Delphi got aggressive at the beginning, got into second. He settled in, probably 3-4 car lengths behind Sobraski, but nobody could really get close to Delphi either. But that battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th with Kopp, and a great run by a local Dwayne Dale was up there, and Esty and Johnny, and Daryl Nelson. I can't remember if I already skipped some names already or said some names, but yeah, Daryl, Kopp, Esty, Broking, Dwayne Dale. Those 5, it was, you know, then some guys are, you know, because there was that lip up top, especially on 1 and 2, way up there. That's where Kopp was going, because Kopp actually dropped back originally and then came back through the field. And, you know, some guys were trying to bottom, like you said, Daryl Nelson was, you know, he said he's a searcher, and he was definitely searching. And so that was really where the race was. Like I said, Sobraski was kind of gone. Belfi kind of forgot about that, even got second, because, you know, every once in a while you check to see where the leader is, but that battle was so intense with those guys. But yeah, that ended up being a pretty I'd say that was probably the second best race of the night.
Yeah, I'd feel remiss if we didn't bring this up too, because he's family to you, right? He's family. He's kind of like a brother to me too. The Tardys, they've been struggling, and we've been smacking them around and calling them out. I'm like, dude, you just got to stop sucking. Like, what is your deal, right? I mean, they went to Rapids. He got the lead. He had the race receiver, the cord get wrapped up in his hand, and he, like, literally both drove off the track leading. I'm like, oh my God, right? And then in Hibbing, he had brake issues. They were turned the wrong way. I'm like, what is he thinking? But the problem is it's been so bad that he just can't get his head in the game, right? And he went on the heat. He was just terrible in the heat race. I'm like, what is his deal? I mean, they're like ready to cut the thing in half. Like, he's like, did I forget how to drive? Well, they went in the pits then after the heat race, and they were really looking at it, and actually JR, right? And obviously, you know all the Tardys, but JR was looking at it. He's like, there's an issue in the right front. The shock's hitting the spindle. So when they were turning to the left, everything was locking up. So they changed everything on the right front and went on the B main and drove right up into actually got up to 3rd and then faded a little bit, got 4th, and then he was a hard charger in the feature.
Okay,
so, you know, he was. So he passed a bunch of cars. He actually looked like a race car driver again. So it's funny how one little issue, and it's hard to see that, one little bind wrecked several weeks of racing for the 67. But now he's actually excited to go racing again because it was like a whole new race car. So congrats to the 67 crew for figuring out what the heck is wrong with that thing.
All right, well, let's wrap up with, you know, some of the TriStar Engines and Transmissions series. And, Bert, we're going to get you involved. You're up next.
No, I know.
We're talking about Saturday Night Racing in Shadow here. I feel terrible.
Popcorn. Yeah, he said he's going to eat popcorn.
I haven't seen any of popcorn.
Yeah, he ain't eating popcorn. What the heck?
Your lips don't look buttery.
Yeah, so we put together a pretty neat deal, you know, for the late models. And, you know, obviously they had good paying shows for the 4 nights, but we're like, you know what, let's give them some extra money. Usually they got the Challenge Series. So we had the TriStar Engines and Transmissions late model series presented by our friends at Quality Freight Rates. We had several sponsors jump on the page. They're all listed there. But we had a lot of sponsors. Jeffrey Massingill, that's the guy that got her done. You know, we've been talking about him, how close he is to like getting over the hump. and he started out the weekend with a bang. And over the 4-race series, he had a first, a fourth, a sixth, and a third. So other than, I mean, he was in the top 5, all of them except one. Very solid weekend for the 6M. Question I have is the 24J. So he had a first, a fifth, and a fourth, and didn't go to the first show.
Right.
So I'm gonna give him some grief. I'm like, Jay, you know, if you'd have went to the first show and even finished even remotely distant or remotely good, he could have won this deal or got second, and that would have been an extra couple $1,000 in his pocket right there. So he was very, very good over the weekend. Now, the money earners over the whole weekend, including all the bonuses, the purse, the bonus money, Pat Doar actually led the way, $8,150 for the Double One Express. Jeffrey Massing, yeah, pretty good for 4 days. That second day, that win, $2,000 to win, an extra $1,500 for the lap money, and then he jumped up into second in the points, got another $1,500 there. So that win on the second day of Labor Day was actually worth $5,000.
Yeah.
So that's a stout pay. Massingill had $8,000, so he was just shy of Doar. Jesse Glenn's $4,500, Steve Larson $3,600, and Provenzino was fifth in the money, $2,725. Solid. Wasn't up in the top 5, but he got the hard charger twice. In Rapids, he broke right away in the heat when he about tipped over, ripped the drive shaft out, so he had to come from the back and get up to, I think he maybe got up to 8th or something. And then the second day of Labor Day, I mean, he had over half a straightaway lead. He was gone. Okay. Now here's the fine thread in racing, right? So Provenzino had that race won. He broke on the last lap, so he had it won. Massingill was in that heat, right? So if Provenzino wins that heat, Massingill don't start in the second row.
Right.
Jesse Glenn's may start ahead of Massingill, right? Jesse Glenn's, next thing you know, he starts up there. Massingill starts further back. We might have a whole different conversation for the points. So because Provenzino broke, that opened the door for Massingill in a big, big way.
Yeah, big time. Yeah. So we'll see what happens here this week with the power rankings here. Like I said, we talked a little bit about Massingill. We talked a little bit about Doar. We talked a little bit about Larson. He's probably not quite there, but possibly Jay Kittner. I'd like to get some results from away from here. Like you said, we're going to talk about tracks more than 40 miles away from where we were all weekend, Ryan. And Bert Lehman, you were able to venture out to Shawano this weekend?
Yeah, I didn't see nearly the amount of racing that you two saw over the weekend, but I'll contribute my 2 cents here. But yes, I was at Shawano Speedway on Saturday night. It was their final show of the year during the Shawano County Fair. And as we spoke last week, Troy Springborn had a 14-point lead entering last week's program, and then he rolled over. So he was tied with Ron Berna going into the final night of points racing. And I talked to one of Troy's sponsors, and apparently the day after the rollover, he took the car to Nick Avelink's shop, and Nick Avelink and Nick's brother, Tyler, fixed it, repaired it over the week. And they did a good job because Troy didn't want to take any chances. And he went out, he won the feature. Well, actually, he finished 2 spots. He was in the correct heat race because Berna was in the heat race with it just worked out that it seemed like most of the faster cars were in Berna's heat race. And so Troy finished 2 spots. They were in separate heat races, but Troy finished 2 spots ahead of Berna. So he had a 2-point lead entering the feature, started second row, took the lead early, and cruised to the victory. So he won the track championship at Shawano. So, congratulations to Troy Springborn. I'm glad that I didn't jinx his championship season a couple of weeks ago. That it was good to see him win the championship. He's won, I don't know, this was either his 3rd or 4th championship in the late model division, but he's also won a fast track late model championship as well as a hobby stock championship at Shawano Speedway. So congratulations to him. And that was all the racing in Eastern Wisconsin for late models last week. last weekend. It was announced over the weekend. Dirt Kings has a another schedule change. They were supposed to conclude their season at 141 Speedway the end of the month. That show has been canceled for the late models. 141 is still having their special, but the late models will not be part of that program. And so now late models will be racing at Seymour Speedway, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, and that will be a Dirt Kings sanctioned event. So that'll be the final date for Dirt Kings. And that series is racing at Wilmot Speedway this coming Saturday. So they have 2 races left. And that's all that's left for late model racing in the eastern side of the Wisconsin. I mean, hearing you guys talk, for the last half hour or so makes me a little envious of all the racing you guys have in western Wisconsin and eastern Minnesota compared to what we have here now. So, but
Mark
that
your
is what it
calendars,
is.
Bert. Mark your calendars. You need to make the trip up for the Labor Day weekend next year.
So
Yeah, you're right.
So there's going to be so next weekend we got Superior Racing, and you guys will the Dirt Kings will be in Wilmot. Then the next weekend is the legendary Cedar, and they'll be at Seymour on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you think that's going to affect a guy like Anvilink?
Well, Avalink hasn't been following Dirt King, so I mean he'll go wherever he wants to go. I know he's traveled quite a bit this year. I don't know what his plans are for the rest of the season travel-wise. But yeah, I mean, for you guys, I wouldn't expect hardly any Eastern drivers to make the trips over there based on the schedule on Eastern Wisconsin.
When was 141 supposed to run? Was that going to be on Saturday anyway? Or so they're not
No.
of the legendary?
No, that was going to be on Thursday night, which would have been the Thursday night before what Punky would have been.
Oh, okay. So they actually did add a Saturday show for the Dirt Kings, which is too bad because
and Seymour special. They were planning on having late models anyway, but there was no mention of Dirt Kings before this last weekend. So late models would have been racing that weekend anyway. It's just a matter of now it's going to be a Dirt Kings race. So
how did Kyle Redant do?
He wasn't in the top 5. He was probably more towards 10th or so. But
was Schmidt there or Richie or any of those guys?
Richie was there, but he fell back. And actually, Troy won the feature and Ron Berna finished second. So I mean, they were both gunning for the championship, and they ran 1-2 in the feature. And actually, in the 4-cylinder division at Shawano Speedway, one of the drivers had a 1-point lead entering the night, and they don't get heat race points. And the guy who was leading the points won the feature, and the guy who was second in points finished second in the feature. So that just kind of happened. And in the modified division, Lucas Lambries had an 18-point lead coming in, and then he got involved in somebody else's mess, and his wheels were towed like this, but he stayed out there, and he continued the race. He won the championship by 9 points. So his lead was cut in half, but he still won the championship.
Yeah, that was fortunate that he didn't rip the suspension part off, because that could have ended the night for him. Sure.
Right.
Nice. So the Dirt Kings deal right now, so there's 2 nights left in that. Who's leading the Dirt Kings points?
I believe Justin Ritchie is leading Dirt King points right now, and I know Brett Swedberg is up there also.
Has Ritchie won a points deal for the Dirt Kings before?
Not a championship.
Okay.
Actually, Nick Avalink is the only driver to win a championship in that series, so it will be a new champion
for sure. Yep, that is changing for sure.
That's changing for sure. Correct.
So Bert, you mentioned too that you kind of kept your eye on the Mars series a little bit. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Mars series raced on September 3rd at Farmer City, and then they raced September 4th at Farmer City, and then September 5th at Fairbury. Bobby Pierce won the first one at Farmer City, and then Jason Fager won, and Bobby Pierce won the Fairbury race. But there was a Wisconsin connection. Taylor Scheffler, we've mentioned him a few times on this show. He set fast time at Farmer City on September 3rd, and he finished 12th in the feature, and Mitch McGrath, who we've talked about on this show, finished 11th in the feature in the Mars race. So, a good showing from the two Wisconsin drivers.
How many cars did McGrath hit?
I do not have that stat. And then the next night, Taylor Scheffler finished 11th at Farmer City, and Mitch McGrath finished 9th. So another good showing for those two. And then at Fairbury, Taylor Scheffler set fast time there. So 2 out of the 3 races, Taylor Scheffler set fast time. And Taylor actually finished 6th in that race, and Mitch McGrath finished 9th. So it was a good showing in 3 different races for those 2 Wisconsin drivers.
Nice. Now, are those races, are they on dirt or anything like that? Were any of them?
I did watch. Yeah, I watched the Fairbury race on dirt, and I believe the first Farmer City race is also on there. I believe it was the first Farmer City race. There was a late race caution, and Jason Fager was running second to Bobby Pierce, and on the restart, he gunned it going into 3, and the car went around on him. And, he was trying to get by Pierce on the inside, and it was a no-go.
Interesting.
Nice.
On the inside,
I know Mars was talking.
When Fagers tries to go to the inside, it's not going to work.
Right. I know Mars was talking about actually heading down there, but they ended up not going, it sounds like, huh?
Yeah, I didn't see his name mentioned at all.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to check them out on dirt because I can't believe I missed. Well, I mean, we had so much racing going on this weekend. We didn't catch any of the other stuff going on, and there was a lot of it, including back to Wissota country, right? Aberdeen, out there in Aberdeen. I don't remember what the name of it was, but they had basically a 2-day show out in Aberdeen, and I saw a post on Cole Searing's page that said, rubber, 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 rubber. And I saw a bunch of tires, and they were pretty chewed up. And Scott Ward, who we mentioned him a bunch earlier in the year, we ain't mentioned him in quite a while. He parked the 37 riding Victory Lane out there at the Brown County Speedway.
Yeah, like a $3,500 paycheck?
Something like that. Yeah, it was pretty good. I think
it was called the Big Buck Nationals, I think is what it was called.
You are exactly right. Now, what have we been saying about Ward all year long? Checkers or wreckers, right? So he got first in Aberdeen. He got dead last in Casino with another DNF. I don't know what the issue was. I didn't find out. But it just seems like that's the thing for Scott Ward. He's either going to win or DNF or break. And it's about equal on how many times he does it. So tough break for him. But another guy that got a win out there at the Casino Speedway on Sunday, Tyler McDonald. I believe that's number 6 on the year for the rookie hot shoe from South Dakota. So I've been saying this for a few weeks now. The 2 hottest guys in South Dakota are 2 rookies, Tyler McDonald, Cole Searing. Searing didn't go to Casino. He doesn't race there very much. I know I think he believes he got 3rd at the Big Buck Nationals there at Brown County.
All right. We'll get into River Cities here in just a second, Ryan. I know you want to touch on that, but we did want to thank our friends right here, right now from Dirt Track Supply. So you're one source for everything racing, whether it's Bell Products, K&N, AFCO, All-Star, Willys, QA1. They've got it all, including home of the Aero chassis. And I know many of you at this time of year starting to think about your chassis program at this time of year. Give Trevor a call. Give them a shot. See what they have to offer at Aero Chassis. So dirttracksupply.com is how you find them, or 605-886-8924. So what do we have going up at the Bull Ring in Grand Forks, Ryan?
Well, again, it's the Dustin Strand Show. Him and Sang, they've been up in the top 10 in the power rankings the better part of the year. They started in the front row, and Dustin Strand, he took control, and he won that deal again. So Strand has been absolutely just lights out. I was going to try to get the win count. We'll make sure that we have that for the next show. But between modifieds and late models, he's got to be getting close to 20 on the year. he's got a pile of wins. I mean, maybe he's at like 15, but that's all he does is win. So he leaves there, right? He wins up in Grand Forks, which I was a little frustrated about anyway. I'm like, you know, bring them Grand Forks cars over to the Labor Day weekend. We got 4 shows over our way, right? But, you know, they didn't leave home. He actually went down to Viking Speedway the next night, Puka, to they had a Fallen Lineman Classic, the Fallen Lineman race, like a memorial race, and it's put on by a guy down there. There's several sponsors. It's $3,000 to win. Dan Ebert got the lead. Oh, what a race. What a race. Him and Strand got into lap traffic. Ebert slid him, crossover move by Strand, lights out. I mean, that was a photo finish there, too. Just a great finish at the Viking Speedway. So the guy, it's like he jumps in a car, he wins. It's crazy. He's got a pile of wins in the late models. I think he's won something about every week for the last 3 months. I mean, it's like he's always winning races. So one of the most talented drivers out there in Wissota. I'm a little bit bitter that he doesn't come over our way, right? Because, you know, I think a lot of people would like to see him in action. We get to watch him online. You know, 'cause a lot of the races aren't online. But that mod race at Viking Speedway was on Dirt Race Central.
Yeah, people would like to see you over here, Dustin, because they remember your dad. I mean, the Brocket Rocket used to race here. So, and he used to, you know, back when he was in North Dakota, he used to. And then when you guys were in Bemidji, Dad used to come over and race Hibbing and Rapids. And so, yeah, the fans over here, I mean, you've got the name. And so it's time to, you know, I know the old saying is head west, young man, head west, but let's change that and head east, young man. All right.
Exactly.
All right, so let's do some rapid fire here. So we got the Wool 8s. Who wants to start on that one?
Go ahead. Bert, did you watch any of the Wool 8 stuff?
I didn't watch any of the features. I just looked at the results, but I didn't watch anything. I did see that Ricky Weiss finally started up front in these races.
He did. In fact, I believe, didn't he get a second and a fourth on the weekend?
Yes.
Yeah.
So a solid weekend for 7.
Yeah, extended the points between him and Dick K. Dillard. I think he extended it by like 70-some points.
He's only 252 behind Shepard for first.
He's right there. Well, I tell you what, that's the thing. If Brandon Shepard keeps doing what he did the first night of the 2, he might catch him. I mean, you don't see this often. Shepard running third, and what they like to call this in racing is he stepped all over his wiener, right? I mean, he spun out, and next thing you know, he's facing the wrong way. And they showed a little bit later in the race that him and Bloomquist were racing side by side, which is kind of cool. You want to see Shepard and Bloomquist racing side by side. The problem is they were both getting lapped, right? So that's not a good place to be racing side by side. And I think Shepard rebounded with a top 5 the next night, I believe. 5th or 4th. I think he got 4th, 5th, or 6th, somewhere in the 4th maybe. I think he got 4th. Yeah. But my buddy Jeff, who's our late model expert, said, you know, the story of the weekend was the fact that Brandon Overton has 4 in a row for the World of Outlaws. So 4 in a row there for Brandon Overton. 19th of the year, Brandon Shepard actually has 25 wins. So I tell you, I think the World of Outlaw guys are really, really, really happy, or at least Brandon Shepard's really happy that Brandon Overton has not followed that series.
Yeah, very impressive. And I mean, he's hot. Like I said, I mean, my brother told me, he saw an interview with him. He said, we're one major sponsor away from going on a national series next year. I don't know if either of you caught that too.
I did not. That's good to know.
Either.
I mean, he's a guy that people got to sponsor. I mean, he's a class act. He's a hell of a race car driver, you know, so, you know, the question is, which series would he follow?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
I mean, this is a topic for another day, but I don't know if the World of Outlaws is going to last very long, and they're kind of falling apart a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see. How about those Moose Sprints over in South Dakota? Now, that was something else on Saturday night, huh? Who wants to start on that one?
Well, I'll start because you told me to watch the race, and so I found it on YouTube on their YouTube channel, and the first thing I noticed right away was they're smoking the right rear tires in the corners. That was the first thing I noticed in the race. And then all of a sudden, boom, somebody's out with a shredded tire. Like 2 laps later, somebody else is out with a shredded tire. boom, somebody else is out. And then actually on the restart where Larson, what he was leading, if you look at his rear tire when they start on that restart, there's like a white strip around the tire. You know, because it's down. You can tell it's down to the cords already. And then, sure enough, about a lap later, that tire blew. So the guy whose tire blew first actually wound up winning the race.
Yeah, that was an amazing race.
The winner of that race was Hoosier Tire. That was the winner of that race. They were the big winner of night number 1 over there was Hoosier Tire. But yeah, you're right. Sheldon Hodenchild, I believe it was, he lost the tire right away. He went in. He got back to the front. He actually got to 7th really quickly because I think a lot of them guys were a lap down, so he didn't have to go all the way to the back. And he just worked his way up there and flat tire, flat tire, flat tire, flat tire. I told Puka, I'm like, it actually just pisses me off even watching this race. It was like frustrating even seeing it. He's like, there was drama, which is true because you didn't know whose tire was going to last. So it was definitely interesting. But I've been on racetracks like that, and it just makes me want to jump out a window is what it does. That was just – but they had it better the next night. The next night. And actually our sprint car expert, Keith, said, well, he's back. He's back. Kyle Larson, again, another $20,000 to win show for young money. That's all he does is win big money shows on dirt. That's all he does. And he got her done. And, you know, just that guy's – and if you watch that first night, did you guys notice by watching that race how straight he was keeping his car? Like he wasn't blazing his tires as much as everybody else. He was really trying to conserve that right rear tire, and he wasn't able to do it either. But the fact is, he's just that talented.
Yeah.
I mean, he's no Hot Carl, but I mean, he's pretty good.
Yeah. You know Hot Carl. So Sweets up by 14 as we head to Dodge City, Kansas. All right, the Lucas Oil late models.
The other thing I was going to say is the top 3 in points there, Puka. You mentioned the points. None of them finished in a podium position all weekend long.
Oh,
so that was it. That was
really? Okay.
That was interesting. They're all kind of right around that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th all together there. So Lucas Oil late models. Bert, take her away, man.
Well, I watched the one on September 5th. Would have been the second show. And Hudson O'Neill won that one. I know we've talked about this the last several weeks, you know, what a difference a chassis makes. And well, maybe it's not only a chassis, but a team. I mean, this team is only a month old, and you know, he went from, you know, where everybody's thinking, you know, what's wrong with Hudson O'Neill to now he won a Lucas Oil race. So it's pretty amazing. I mean, I was thinking about this too. He better not break up with his girlfriend because her parents own the team. But watching that race, I mean, he was in the top 10, but you know, he really wasn't moving up. And then as the cautions came out, he'd move up a little bit. The caution would come up, he'd move up. And then all of a sudden, you know, he's right there with Jimmy Owens, and then he wound up winning. The night before, maybe Jonathan Davenport has been listening and watching our podcast here because we've been critiquing him a little bit, and he won the feature. So it's good to see Superman back in the front, although he did fade to a 7th place finish the next night after starting on the pole.
Hey, Puka, go ahead and message Davenport Racing our your PayPal account number or whatever for the One to Go show. He owes us half that check because that call out really is the only reason he won. I guess I'm gonna call him out again. Okay, Superman is used to winning lots of races. Let's see if he can win another one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's few and far between. Like you said, you know, the weekend of the USA Nationals, he raced with the kids and he couldn't even pull off a win. So, all right. So now we're going to talk about some big races. We got, you know, we're going to preview some of the things coming up. The 14th annual John Seitz Memorial Race up at River City Speedway in Grand Forks, North Dakota, will be held with the traditional 9,200 to win, 9,200 or 920 to start. Thursday night, they got the prelude to the Johnny, which is will cap off that NLRA series. Ryan, you got any commentary there?
I got 2 things. Okay, well, first of all, that's a great race. John Seitz is a guy I raced against. I really like John Seitz. I mean, I like the Seitz family. I've known him for years. He was from Bemidji, you know, so this is a great race for them. I'll be watching it, of course, on Dirt Race Central. But two things on this race is, number one, they got a limited crowd now because Grand Forks, the River City Speedway, they kind of got a little bit of a warning after the World of Outlaw show there. They were actually in jeopardy of not even being able to have this race. And fortunately, there's a couple sharp people on the board, smooth things out, so they're able to have it. But if you don't have your tickets yet for the sites, you better get them because they have a limited amount of seating. The other thing is this. Last year's winner won't be this year's winner because Erin Turnbull from Estevan, Saskatchewan got her done. No Canadians, right? So that sucks because that's kind of like the same boat as us. They're over in Grand Forks. They get a bunch of Canadian drivers, a bunch of Canadian fans, right, and they're missing all those folks there. You know, another guy, Shane Eddington, I think he's got, what has he got, 4 wins, I believe, already this year. I don't know if there's any more racing in Canada for late models, so he's won everything up there. And he was another guy that had a shot to win. Belkin runs there. So none of them Canadian guys coming down to the sites. And I talked to a lot of the late model guys that were over at Labor Day, and I said, where are you guys going? You going to the Russ Larson? You going to the sites? And obviously we know where Steve's going, but everybody else said it's going to kind of depend on weather, on where we go. I haven't even looked at the forecast yet, but that's a good race. $9,200 to win, $920 to start. And, you know, I'm just going to go ahead right now, and I'm going to take my pick. And he hasn't won this race yet, and he's been red hot. And now it's time to shine. Dustin Strand, get her done.
Well, I know Jeff Massingill plans on heading out there, he said. He said they're doing some sort of a past champions race, too.
Okay.
But I don't think Jeff's a past champion, but I think he's invited. I suppose you got to make sure you got enough to fill. You know, I think he's been pretty loyal there, and he's had a lot of top threes. So, you know, I think he's going to go in there. But, yeah, you were saying something about the forecast. I know on the range, I mean, we're 5 days out, but they're saying rain on Saturday here. So I don't know about Grand Forks, and obviously I don't quite know about Superior. But yeah, speaking of Superior, we got the Russ Larson Classic coming back, kind of taking the place of the longtime Northern Nationals. Looks like kind of an interesting format, right? Double heats. Where's Jonathan Davenport when we got the double heats? Huh? Yeah, 3 heats? I thought it was double heats in a dash or something like that.
No, it's unless they changed it, it was going to be 2 heats on the one day with 1 heat the next day, and it was going to be triple heats, and they were going to take your point average from the 3 heats. So, yeah, there was a few people grumbling about that, but there's some pretty good pay. It's like it's $51.90 because $5.19, so it's $51.90 to win that. But I believe, if you look at that, I believe there's 3 heat races with accumulated points. So I don't know if that's changed, but that's what it was. Now here's the $1 million question. Steve Larson should have won the Prelude to the Clay. He was a car to beat. He was out front. He was comfortable. He broke. He got second the last time he raced, night 2 of the Labor Day shootout. Could he win the Russ Larson Classic? What would it mean to Steve Larson to win the race, you know, in memory of his dad?
Yeah,
how cool would that be?
Yeah, huge. And like I said, he's heating up at the right time. Like I said, he's even in the heat race in Grand Rapids, I think he started 5th and got 2nd. He made some real bold moves at the beginning of that race, past guys like Kanta and stuff. And you know, like I said, he's very confident right now. What I'm reading off their flyers saying Friday, 2 rounds of heats and 2 dashes, whatever that means. And then Saturday, B mains and 40-lap feature. So, Guy Nicolau, you just might want to jump on Facebook or something just to make sure it's clarified for everybody. But that's what I'm looking at their flyer. That's what it's saying. So we'll see. But yeah, it'd be a huge night and a popular win if Stevie Larson can get it done. The guy's probably 62, 63, 64, maybe 65.
I called him the ageless wonder last year during introductions, and he kind of gave me a funny look.
Well, I guess it's his 50th year of racing is what Fleischer said, you know, at the show.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think that was a very under advertised, kind of a best kept secret. It's kind of terrible that it's a secret, but you know, I you know, where's the 50th anniversary Steve Larson T-shirts? We need to get Joe Bravo on that right away. Maybe I'll make those after. Maybe he can get him after he wins next week, and then they'll say, 2020 Russ Larson Classic winner. So, all right. So
There you go.
So what else we previewing here? Oh, Boone Nationals.
Yeah, that started today. Bert, any of your Eastern guys, because you got a bunch of IMCA mod guys, any of them guys head down to Boone?
I know there's a lot of them that are headed down there. I don't have a list of them. For next week's show, this week I'll kind of keep track of how the Eastern Wisconsin drivers are doing. But yeah, I mean, Boone for the Eastern Wisconsin, IMCA stock car drivers, modified drivers, and sport mod drivers, Boone is like, their holy grail. They love going down there for the racing and everything else that happens down there besides the racing. But yeah, there's always a handful of drivers who head down there. So next week I'll kind of do a rundown of how they did down there.
There's a 20 RT watch right now.
Because actually some Wisconsin drivers have won features down there. So, Wisconsin, I know Benji Lacrosse won the modified feature one year. Brandon Sharapata won the stock car feature one year, and Jeremy Christians won the stock car feature one year. I know Jeremy Christians is down there again this year.
Okay. I noticed that Ricky Thornton Jr. is driving a 30 car, an IMCA late model for somebody. The question I have, and I did not look, but we'll have it for the next show, is he going to run a late model, a stock car, and a modified? Is he going to run all of that, or what's all he going to run? Because he's an IMCA guy. He's run a lot of IMCA stuff. It'll be interesting to see what, I guess we'll just call him the 20 RT. We'll see what he can do. And speaking of IMCA, Puka, something we didn't touch on, maybe you had it in the last lap, Steve Arpin.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't have that. So I was a little confused with what I saw there, and I kind of sent you that text. I don't want to get into the details of that text, but what was he doing in Montana? I've been to Electric City Speedway.
He was racing. Yeah, he was racing, and they were just promoting the fact that he was racing because, I mean, he's won everything. And he ran some, he's ran some, pavement stuff, I guess ARCA and Nationwide, and he's ran some of that stuff, and he went out there and he rattled off a first, a first, and a second.
Yeah.
So he still got it. I'd like to see him back in dirt. Man, he was freaking fun to watch. He was another guy, high side hustler up on the wheel, but really good to see Steve Arpin. He's been running them off-road things and all that, and he's making money doing it, and it's all great. But, dude, you're a dirt modified guy. We want to see you back where you belong. And it was, too bad it was way the hell west. Too bad it wasn't over kind of in our area. But I texted him. He says, line me up a car. I'll come race it. So we may have to work on that.
Yeah. Tight little bull ring out there in Great Falls. And we actually have a local guy, Kyle Peterlin, won a Challenge Series race out there, like when Terry Volz was doing that Rumble Series, so maybe like 08. So he won a race out there. And best thing about Arpin winning, he's Canadian. So he was down here. Well, of course he lives here, but he got in before the border closed. So yeah, congratulations to Stevie Arpin. So more mod talk, Mod Nationals down at MTS, Ryan.
Yeah, that's a big one. It's interesting, right? It's interesting because there's so much stuff going on. You got the Boone Nationals. You have the Sites race. You have the Northern Nationals. You got all that stuff going on. In Mississippi Thunder, that same weekend, they got the Mod Nationals. I think it's either 4-6-10 or 2-4-10, but it's for mods and Midwest mods. And the finale of that deal on Saturday is $10,000 to win for both of them. And it's a hell of a good payout all the way through the deal. And I looked at the pre-entries, pretty light. For that kind of pay, they have like 35 modified for $10,000 to win. I'm like, disappointing. And what that tells me is this, okay, is I'm not saying which sanctioning body is better because they're all good and they all have things that suck about them. It just is what it is. But there's just too many of them. See, they're down in USRA country. They got IMCA. They got UMP. They got WISSOTA. They got all this stuff. And they said WISSOTA guys can just come run as they are with their tires. But are they going to go run against the USRA guys? Some of them are, but not many guys are going to travel to do it. And I'm disappointed to see that they don't have 75 modifieds at that deal. I mean, the track is phenomenal. These guys are willing to fork out the money to put on these big shows. For the life of me, I just don't understand what goes through the minds of racers. I used to be one, and I guess, I don't know. Like, I felt like I chased all the money shows. I did, but a lot of guys don't. I don't really understand, even the late model series that we had, there was a lot of guys that I figured would have been there for extra money on the line, and they just don't show up. So, I really hope that racers are procrastinators too, and I'm hoping a lot more guys show up, because I really want to see them guys at Mississippi Thunder have a successful event with a solid field of cars. So hopefully it works out for them.
All right, and finally, Bert, what would normally in a normal non-COVID year be the week leading up to the big one? It would be the World 100 coming up, but obviously what we're left with this year is the Intercontinental Classic at Tony Stewart's Eldora Speedway. Thoughts of heading into the week here, Bert?
Well, I mean, normally I would be working tomorrow, and then I would have the rest of the week off because I'd be heading down to Eldora to watch the races. Over the last several days, my Facebook memories have been popping up, and it's been my past trips down to Eldora. So, for me, it's kind of sad that there's no, that fans aren't going to be there. So, I won't be making the trip there. But I do plan on watching it live on Flow. And so I was actually my friend that I go down to that race with, I saw him at the races, and I said, do you think we should grill out ahead before we watch before we watch it online? Because, that's what we do at the track. We grill out and stuff. But yeah, I'm still looking forward to watching it, even though I can't be there in person. I'm going to watch it online. And, I know Dirt on Dirt's making a big deal about, the big three are going to compete against each other: Jimmy Owens, Brandon Overton, and Brandon Shepard. So, we'll see if it's those three who come out, one of those three who come out on top, or if we have a surprise driver who I always kind of like to see a surprise driver win it. So.
Well, T-Mac won the last one. Yeah, T-Mac won the last one. Bobby Pierce was unbelievable to watch at the last one, right? So to answer your first question, yes, you should grill out. Okay. To add to that, you should go on Dirt, because they did a video on how to make whatever that drink is down there. I don't remember what it was.
Toilet water.
Toilet water. They did a video. You need to make one of those, and I think didn't you say you have lemonade or whatever down there? Is that what you said?
I always get the freshly squeezed lemonade down there.
So there you go. You're going to have to go to the store. You're going to have to get some lemons. You're going to have to make some fresh squeezed lemonade, so that way you can feel like you're there, okay? So you have to do that. That's it. And we want pictures, okay? In fact, you can do you should do a live on the One to Go Show page of your pre-race prep for that race, for the Intercontinental 50 grand to win show. My question is this: Scott Bloomquist, he didn't make the feature at any of the 3 nights at the stream. Is he going to make the feature at any of these 3 nights?
Yeah. Oof. Tough call. I don't know. That's if I was a betting man, I think if he's going to make any of them, I would probably take the over that he'll make one. But will he make the big one? Oof. To me, that's a push. I don't know. That'd be tough. But the one guy I'm going to keep an eye on that I like to get better than he did in June is Kyle Strickler. I'd like to see, he's got many more laps on that late model now, and he was fast there, winning the one qualifier. I think it was the Thursday night qualifier. I think Overton won the Friday one, and then T-Mac won Saturday. I'm interested to see what Strickler can do. So like I said, that will start off on Thursday.
So let's make our picks. We didn't make picks for everything else, although I did say Dustin Strand is going to win the John Seitz Memorial. But who is our picks for the Intercontinental? Bert?
Well, I want to make a comment. I want to make a comment about Bloomquist first. Normally, Eldora, you'd say yes, Bloomquist is going to make a feature. But based on his results this year, I mean, just take the 2 World of Outlaw races, the 2 previous ones. He started 23rd and started 21st. And that's without the Lucas cars being there, without the regional stars being there. I'm going to say he doesn't make one. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I'm going to say that.
You heard it here first, folks.
And as far as who I'm picking to win the big one, I'll go with Overton.
Okay, I'll go with T-Mac. I like T-Mac.
Ooh, you're looking for him to have the sweep of the crown jewels at Eldora. And Overton's a good pick. Oh, man.
Well, B-Shep's a good pick. I mean, you know.
Yeah, B-Chef's never a bad pick.
And the O-Show's a good pick.
Yep. They're both solid. So, man.
Well, and ONs.
Is this 100 laps? Is this 100 or 75?
No, like 67 or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. It's not the.
Okay. So you got T-Mac. This is a tough one, right? My favorite would be Ricky Thornton Jr., but he's in Boone. So I'm not going to make that same mistake of picking a guy that's not even going to the race. Okay, I've done that before multiple times this year. My buddy Jeff says, "Hey, dummy, quit picking people that ain't going." Right? Okay, so you know what? I'm going with B-Shep on this one. He's just been, he's got 25 wins, I believe he's at. He's been so good all year. The cream always rises to the top, and I'm going to take Rocket 1.
And who'd you take, Bert?
Overton.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to pick Hudson O'Neal as my dark horse.
Well, I'll take Strickler as a dark horse.
I'm taking Bobby Pierce as my dark horse. First of all, he's going, right? Bobby Pierce going to be there.
Yeah, Bobby Pierce.
Yeah, I'm going to take Bobby Pierce because that place, like you guys said, that place is a cushion rim riding type deal. There's not many people that got bigger balls than that guy's on the cushion. So he could either get right to the front and win, or he could park it over the concrete, one of the two. But I think he's a guy to watch for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Hudson O'Neal run really well there, so that's why I'm taking him now that he's running better.
Correct. That's a good pick.
Don't take Tyler Erb. No Tyler Erb. No Tyler Erb. Not take Tyler Erb.
Oh, I thought this meant shorten your answer.
Yeah.
Your answer.
No.
Hey, right, yeah, that too. Yeah, fair. We do get a little long-winded up here, but yeah, it's all good. So I think, is there anything else, or does that bring us to the last lap?
Yeah, we get into the last lap here where we have one to go and a couple of sad stories here. Ryan, why don't we start with you and then we'll go over to Bert with Rick Eckert, but Bill and Carrie Matzdorf on Friday night.
Yeah, good friends of mine. Bill, of course, a Hall of Famer up at the Grand Rapids Speedway, the track that I help out. They were actually on their way to the Wissota Classic on Friday, and a car went through a stop sign. I think it was a van, and it struck them. They crashed really hard. She got airlifted right away, had a bunch of broken bones. He didn't get airlifted immediately, but then did get airlifted, went into cardiac arrest. Heart stopped a couple times. I saw some updates on Jessica's page. And it sounds like she's doing, they're obviously both sore and pretty beat up, but he was sedated and really doing bad. But today he was breathing on his own, and sounds like things are looking up for Bill and Carrie Matzdorf, but a terrible deal. And just my heart breaks for them and their family. Hopefully everything can get right back on track and they can have a speedy recovery. And, Kevin Burdick, of course, is their son-in-law, and he won the Labor Day shootout. Carrie was watching on Dirt Race Central, so she was able to see that race. And, one of the fans up in the stands had an old Bill Matzdorf jacket. He brought it down into Victory Lane, and Kevin held it in front of him. So it was pretty emotional deal, pretty cool deal.
Yeah, best wishes to the Matzdorf family. And then also, best wishes go out to the Rick Eckert family. And Bert, you want to fill everyone in on his grandson?
Yeah, I don't know all the details, so I'm not going to say too much, but I just know that Eckert's grandson was burned in an accident at a racetrack, something to do with the fuel. And obviously our prayers go out to the family and hoping for a good and speedy recovery for his grandson.
Yeah, this is a safety notice is really what it is, because 5-year-old grandson at that. Any age is terrible, but he's only 5. So what it was is there's a funnel, and I don't know the brand or the type or what all the makeups were, but some funnels have a filter right in the middle of it, and something along with the way that they mount in, the fuel coming in, the static electricity caused it to burst into flames, and the fuel and the fire got all over the kid. It was terrible, and that same thing happened to Ryan Gustin. Ryan Gustin was actually at a buddy's shop. I don't remember exactly where it was, right at the beginning of the Hell Tour, though, and that exact same thing happened there, and it burst into flames. I believe it burnt the guy's garage down, and he ended up he ended up hurting some cars, had to bring him to Rocket. So I guess, Puka, you were talking I'll let you mention. You saw Mark Richards had a post on Facebook. What did he say about that?
Yeah, Richards just said he said that same thing. He brought up some of the other shops like Gustin and didn't Boom Briggs. Did Briggs have a fire or something like?
I'm not sure.
It was another outlaw, but the bottom line was he said a lot of this is kind of linking together into something. He said you shouldn't even use a filter. He said his thoughts were, he said, I've never used a filter, and he said if you've got a good maintenance program, you've got a fuel filter in the car. Let that fuel filter do the job. Don't be mucking around with these filters. So so just a tragic. I mean, I was just because he said the more you filter, the more fumes get into the air. They start evaporating, and then with a little bit of static electricity,
So racers, what he's saying here is if you have one of them funnels with a filter in the middle of it, take that filter, grab it, take a good look at it, eye it up, walk over to the garbage can, throw that filter in the garbage. You don't need it, and go filterless and use the filter on your race car. There's no reason for somebody else to get hurt with this deal.
Yeah, and he really wanted to comment because, of course, him and Rick are tight, and he feels terrible. And he said he you could find it on Facebook, but he linked a few different garage fires to everyone. Everyone's kind of coming out now that it's this filtering that's causing this when they're transferring fuel. So racers beware.
Didn't Jamie Lodiger have that happen too?
Boy, I don't know.
Yeah,
recently? I guess he isn't racing this year.
a couple years back, something similar to that. So I'm gonna have to I'll do some digging on that to find out if it was the same scenario. But there was some static electricity burst into flames, fire at the Lodiger camp. I'll get a hold of Jamie and I'll ask him.
Want to close up here with a birthday wish. You actually a couple of them. So Jeff Tardy, the aforementioned, celebrating a birthday on Wednesday on the 9th of September. So happy birthday, Jeff, and his birthday coincides with my youngest son, Pat. So I want to wish my little guy a happy 11th birthday on Wednesday. He was my 9909 birthday. So when you have 4 kids, it's nice to have one with an easy birthday. It's tough enough to remember. So, all right. Well, I think that kind of wraps it up. We went, we got lots of content in here. So race fans, you need to be happy with this one. So I just want to end by, thanking Weir's Machine, weir'smachine.com. Thanking Dirt Track Supply, one of the Aero chassis, dirttracksupply.com. Anything else?
But when we talk next, the two teams will play against each other on Sunday, the big matchup.
That is true. Vikings, Packers. You can't even call it a home game because we don't get to have any fans. So, I forgot. Actually, it's crazy. I forgot all about that.
I know.
Yeah, so we got Vikings pack coming up, and that'll be interesting. You guys going racing this weekend? You said you're going to be watching the
I'll be watching Eldora.
We might do the Northern Nationals one night if I do it. We'll see, just kind of on the weather and stuff. So I'm, right now I just need rest after this long weekend. I hardly have a voice left. I just need to, I've been, the 9:00 bedtime, guys, gone to bed after midnight. Well, I got up at 3 a.m. on Friday morning. So then stayed up till midnight, and then, midnight Saturday. Now after midnight on Saturday, after midnight last night. So this guy just needs to get to bed and get some rest. And I'll collect my thoughts this weekend and maybe head to the Northern Nationals. How about you?
Yeah,
Russ Larson Classic.
Anywhere,
I said the Northern Nationals. Excuse me, the Russ Larson Classic.
Yeah, and it is. It's still the Northern Nationals, but it is the Russ Larson Classic. But if I go anywhere, it's going to be Sycamore Speedway. I've been helping a buddy of mine a little bit, Dave Dolchek. He actually he's got a win in a second ever since I started helping him. He's bugging me to get there. I'm going to be home for the weekend. Finally, I ain't been home in a while, but I will be watching a whole bunch of racing on Dirt Race Central.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I think that will wrap it up for the week. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Like I said, if you give us a thumbs up, a like, wherever you're watching us. Yeah, there's Massingill there. So wherever you're watching us, like I said, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're here on Facebook. We're also in a podcast form. Just search the One to Go Show on, or whatever device or application you are looking at. Get out there and be your dream. You're tuned to the One to Go Show.